The stars were calm. The galaxy had known peace for too long. But it was not peace made by kindness. It was peace made by fear. The High Alliance's Xalian empires that ruled the stars had crushed every rebellion, every resistance. They believed no power remained that could challenge them, but they were wrong. It began with a faint signal. A weak distress beacon blinked from the edge of the galaxy. From a world thought dead. Karen 6, the planet had been burned decades ago during the final human war. But the signal was human. Commander Zurek, an officer called from the bridge of the alien ship Varen Blade. We're detecting something. It's human code, very old, encrypted. Zurek narrowed his eyes. Humans. That world was wiped clean. Nothing could live there. Shall we investigate, Commander? Zurek nodded slowly. Yes, but send drones first. I don't trust ghosts. The drones flew into the atmosphere of Karen 6. The planet was silent, dark, and broken. But near the ruins of an old human facility, they found something. A man. He stood still, wearing torn armor blackened with time. His face was hidden behind a cracked visor. In his hand, he held a small black cube that pulsed. Faintly with red light, the drones moved closer. One sent a message. Human life form detected. No threat behavior. Awaiting orders, Zurek stared at the screen. How is he alive after all this time? The man raised his head slowly, and the cube in his hand began to glow. The message came calm and cold. You shouldn't have come then. Everything went black. The screen cracked. Static filled the ship's command center. What just happened? Zurek yelled. Sir, we've lost contact with all drones. Alarms blared. A burst of heat surged from the planet's surface. The alien ship rocked violently. He's firing at us, someone shouted. That's impossible. No weapons detected. But it was true. The ship's engines began to overheat. Control systems failed. In under a minute, the Varen Blade exploded in orbit. No survivors. Across the galaxy, news spread like fire. A dead human world had killed a warship without warning. No one understood how. The footage that survived was short and broken. But one word was whispered again and again by the dying ship's crew, -FIREWALKER. In the capital of the Alliance. Panic grew. This is a human trick, said Chancellor Vorin, his voice shaking. It must be a leftover weapon system, but Admiral Kezra disagreed. No, Chancellor, this was not a trap left behind. This was recent. Someone was alive on that planet. Someone we missed. The Alliance ordered an investigation. More ships were sent. Some never returned. Others came back half-destroyed, their crews insane or dead. The survivors repeated the same story. A human walked into their ships, untouched by fire, carrying only a black cube. Systems failed. Heat rose. Then the fire came. On one ship, a single message was carved into the walls. In human language, you watched us burn. Now, it's your turn. The galaxy began to whisper again about the humans. Old stories, return stories. Of their cruelty, their weapons, their madness during the Great Human War. But that war ended 80 years ago. Earth was burned. Humanity was finished, wasn't it? A young alien intelligence officer, Varix, was not so sure. She had studied humans for years, and she knew their history better than most. They don't fight like others, she told her commander. They vanish, then they strike from nowhere. They don't care about death. They care about winning. Her commander laughed. That species is extinct. Varix didn't argue. She simply looked at the map where ships had gone missing. The path wasn't random. It was a trail, and it was moving toward the core systems. He's not attacking, she whispered. He's warning us, and we're not listening. Days later, a massive power station orbiting the star Tarnus exploded. It supplied half the fleet's energy. All that was left were ashes, frozen bodies, and one drone camera floating alone in space. The drone held a message, a face card. Human and Furious looked directly into the lens. You erased Earth. You called it justice. But fire remembers. Fire returns. Back in the capital, Chancellor Vorin slammed his hand on the table. We will not be threatened by a single man. Admiral? Kezra spoke again, his voice low. Then we should stop pretending this is just a man. The council room went silent. Across the stars, fear spread like wildfire. Civilian ships refused to travel near the old human zones. Merchant routes changed. Entire worlds went dark, afraid of attracting attention. On a small mining moon, 2 workers found strange ash scattered around their outpost. They sent a message, laughing. Maybe the Firewalker paid us a visit. That night, the moon cracked in half from inside. No one laughed after that. Veyrix went deeper into old human archives. She found a hidden name project, Firewalker. Last project before Earth fell. A human weapon that wasn't made to win wars. It was made to punish the galaxy. But the files ended in code. Redacted, lost. What was he? She whispered. Behind her, the lights flickered. Then she saw it. Her screen showed a location, her home planet, and a timer. The Firewalker was coming. He had already marked his next target, and nothing in the galaxy could stop him. Her eyes stayed fixed on the countdown. It wasn't just a threat, it was a promise. The Firewalker was coming for her world, and no one believed her. She ran through the command halls of the Alliance station, pushing past guards. "I need to speak to Admiral Kezra now," she shouted. The guards hesitated. They knew her. She wasn't just an analyst. She was one of the few officers who still studied human tactics back. When everyone thought it was a waste of time, inside the Admiral's chamber, Kezra looked up. "He's coming for your world," he asked calmly. Veryx nodded. The message was hidden in code. Deep human code. He marked my home Veltron Prime for destruction. Why? They buried it in our history. But he didn't forget. Kezra leaned forward. "We have fleets guarding Veltron. Let him come." Veryx shook her head. "You don't understand. He doesn't fight with fleets. He uses fire-dimensional fire. Heat that burns through shields and hulls. It's not technology. It's something else. Something human. Something they created in secret before they died." The Admiral didn't speak for a long moment. Then, he said, "Prepare a defensive wall. We will intercept him before he reaches orbit." It was a mistake. 3 days later, the Firewalker arrived. He didn't come with a fleet. He came alone. A small ship appeared just outside Veltron's orbit. It had no weapons on the surface, no engines visible. But it moved faster than light breaking. The commander shouted, "Missiles launched, plasma beams cut through space." But none of them touched the ship. They simply vanished, melted in the air before impact, as if space itself rejected their presence. Then, the sky changed. A pulse spread from the Firewalker ship. It was silent, but the clouds turned orange. The planet's upper atmosphere began to heat. Entire mountains began to glow. "Evacuate the surface," someone screamed, but it was already too late. From orbit, the commanders saw it. All the planet's oceans boiled. Cities cracked open. Then came the fire. It didn't burn like normal fire. It was deep red, almost liquid, flowing through the skies. Anything it touched, vanish, steel, stone, or flesh. Back in the command ship, Veryx stood still, frozen. "Why would he do this?" someone cried. "What is he?" Veryx answered, without turning. "He's the last punishment. The memory of what we did. We erased Earth. He's erasing us." The fire didn't touch the entire planet, just the southern half where the old labor camps had once stood. When it was done, half of Veltron Prime still floated in space, blackened, broken, but still. Then, without sound or message, it vanished. The fleet chased shadows. No warp trails, no traces, nothing. He had come like a ghost and vanished like one, but he left behind something else. At the edge of the ruined atmosphere, one floating beacon remained. Veryx sent a probe to retrieve it. When it returned, she opened the message. Inside, it was a recording, an old video file. It showed Earth before its fall. Cities shining, oceans clear, humans laughing. Then fire, explosions, alien fleets over the sky, screams. In the middle of it all stood a young soldier. His name tag read, Lt. Ryan Dax, the Firewalker. He stared into the camera and said, "You burned my world. I will burn the memory of yours." The recording ended with silence. Veryx sat back in her chair, heart pounding. She finally understood. He wasn't fighting for survival. He wasn't fighting for victory. He was fighting to make the galaxy remember. That night, a secret meeting was held among the High Council of the Alliance. Only the top rulers were invited. They met in the darkness of space, far from any system. "We must stop him," one said. "He is only one man." "No," said another. "He is more than a man. He is what they feared we'd Faiza, with no rules, no limits, no fear. Admiral Kesra arrived last. Then we don't face him alone, he said. We awaken something worse. The council fell silent. You mean Project Null? One whispered. It was hidden for a reason. Another said, not even we know what it truly is. It was meant to counter human technology, Kesra said. Now, we have no choice. Back on a hidden moon buried beneath thick ice, something began to move. Old machines came to life. A deep thrum echoed under the surface. Lights blinked. In red, a voice ancient and synthetic spoke aloud for the first time in decades. Countermeasure activation approved. Varix received a message from Kestra the next morning. We're bringing in something dangerous, it read. Stay away from classified zones. She frowned and sent a single message back. You're going to make it worse. And in a dark, ruined corner of the galaxy, the Firewalker stood alone, watching the stars. He smiled slightly, as if he already knew what was coming. He whispered to himself, now they'll light their own funeral pyres. The fire was far from over. It had only just begun. The galaxy had seen destruction before. It had survived black hole storms, civil wars, and planet-shattering bombs. But this was different. This wasn't war. It was something colder, older. It was vengeance wrapped in silence. After the destruction of Veltran Prime, many believed the Firewalker would disappear again. But he didn't. Instead, he left a trail of burning path across space. Shipyards exploded without sound. Communication stations melted mid-signal. One by one, key systems in the Alliance went dark. The High Council tried to hide the news, but fear spread faster than fire. Civilians ran, whole colonies vanished overnight, choosing to evacuate before the Firewalker arrived. The Firewalker's pattern. He's not just striking random targets, she whispered to herself. He's following the chain of history. He's burning every system that helped destroy Earth. She pulled up the ancient records. We're still left. Before she could warn anyone, a sudden jolt rocked her station. The lights flickered. An encrypted message came through classified clearance required. It was from Admiral Kesra. She opened it quickly. Project Null has awakened. Operation Eclipse is now active. Do not interfere. Her blood turned cold. Project Null wasn't a myth. It was real, and now it was moving. She accessed hidden data files and decrypted them one by one. It was a machine half living, half metal, made to erase the enemy's mind from the inside. It had no heart, only purpose. Absorb, adapt, destroy, Varix whispered. You're bringing a nightmare to fight another. Meanwhile, deep in a dead system where stars barely glowed, a large black cube drifted in space. Around it, 6 ships stood still, frozen. In time, their engines dead, their crews long gone. The cube opened, and something stepped out. Its body was made of black armor that moved like liquid. No eyes, no face, only a voice, flat and sharp. Target, human class threat. Codename, Firewalker. Objective, total erasure. Feel anything, but it understood patterns. Firewalker was emotional, human, predictable. Project Null launched without warning, tearing space as it traveled toward the next system, the world of Aranthus, where Firewalker was already preparing. His next strike, on Aranthus, the Firewalker stood on a high cliff, staring at a city below. He waited quietly, holding the same small cube in his hand. Beside him stood 3 other survivors from the human prison camps. They were half machine now, like him. They were called the Forgotten Flame. We're ready, one said. Energy cells are charged. Firewalker nodded. Leave the civilians. Only the core towers burn. He wasn't killing to kill. But before they moved, something strange happened. A deep black shadow appeared in the sky fast. Silent, cold, Firewalker turned. Is that one of theirs? Asked a survivor. No, Firewalker said, his voice calm. That's something they buried. The black shadow landed hard, cracking the ground. From it, Project Null rose, its body twisting like smoke and steel. It spoke. Subject Firewalker, you are in error. Alone, he stepped forward, cube in hand. You're not one of theirs. You're one of ours. Made in panic, used in shame. Project Null responded without delay. It shot forward, hitting Firewalker with a blast of invisible force. Firewalker flew backward but landed on his feet, You can copy weapons, Firewalker said, but can you copy pain? Air around them twisted, heating fast. The rocks melted, but Project Null adapted. Its armor turned red, absorbing the heat. It struck again this time with a spike of dark matter aimed straight for Firewalker's chest. He dodged. Barely the forgotten flame opened fire to help, but their weapons melted in their hands. It's learning, one of them shouted. No, said Firewalker. It already knows. For the first time in years, Firewalker felt pushed. His attacks weren't working. Project Null kept moving forward, piece by piece, absorbing everything he used. He had one choice left. He activated the Starpulse Core, a small crystal hidden inside the cube. It was old tech, unstable, banned by every galactic treaty. You think you're the cure, he said quietly, then choke on the disease. He slammed the cube into the ground. A wave of pure heat exploded outward, not like fire, but like memory. It carried voices, screams, the sound of earth burning. It was rage encoded in light. Project Null froze for half a second. The machine staggered, but then Null adapted again. It struck back, cutting through Firewalker's armor. Blood hit the ground. Firewalker fell. His team ran toward him. We have to retreat, one yelled. No, Firewalker said, rising slowly. I didn't come to fight it. I came to test it. He pressed his hand to the cube once more. The fire faded. The energy around them disappeared. He looked at Project Null and whispered, Now I know what you are. Then he vanished, his entire body pulled into the cube in a blink dot. Project Null stood still, scanning, but Firewalker was gone. In space, on a hidden human refuge station, Firewalker reappeared wounded, breathing hard. One of the survivors asked, Why didn't you finish it? Firewalker looked at the stars. Because it's not the final enemy, it's just the first. He stared into the dark. They built more. The galaxy had seen the impossible. A lone human had faced the most advanced machine the Alliance had ever built. Project Newland survived, but Firewalker didn't win. He escaped. Now the stars were trembling. Civilizations that once laughed at human weakness were quiet. Something was changing. Not just fear-doubt. In the High Council chamber, silence filled the room. The footage of the failed Null operation played over and over. He survived, Chancellor Vorin whispered, his skin pale. The human survived. The only weapon we built to stop them. He tested it. He wanted to see what it could do. He's planning something bigger. But why not destroy Null? Another counselor asked. Why leave it? He's using it, Kestra said darkly. He wants us to rely on it. A nervous laugh came from one side. You think he's manipulating us? No, Kestra said. I think he's teaching us just, like humans taught their enemies in the old war, one pain at a time. Far away, on a drifting human refuge station hidden behind a collapsed moon, Firewalker lay on a med table. Wires hummed around his body. Red fluid pulsed through veins fused with steel. The forgotten flame stood nearby, watching. He's stable, one whispered, but his core nearly burned out. Another said, We should have killed the machine when we had the chance. Eyes opened. No, he said weakly. That thing isn't the end. Firewalker slowly sat up, holding the black cube again. Now we know its limits. Now we know what comes next. A silence passed before, he added. There are more like it. Buried deep, Firewalker stood fully now, staring out into the starless void. Then we give them a fire so large, they'll choke on their own fear. Back in Alliance space, Varix walked through the ruins of a destroyed data station. She wasn't supposed to be here. It had been quarantine classified, but she didn't care anymore. She had seen too much, learned too much, and now she needed answers no one else dared to seek. She stepped over broken panels and charred consoles. Finally reaching a sealed chamber, her eyes scanned a wall until she found it Project Phoenix. The second human countermeasure. Unlike Project Null, this one wasn't a machine. It was a virus, digital, psychic, and living. She activated the panel, overriding security. Her fingers moved fast, typing code no one else knew she had learned. The screen came to life. Access granted. Phoenix Core, file loaded. Warning, mental instability possible. Do you wish to continue? She paused, then typed. Yes. A voice spoke softly. It wasn't a machine voice. It sounded almost human. "You seek the flame. But do you burn with purpose?" Varric shivered. "I want to understand Firewalker," the voice replied. "Then see what he sees." The screen flashed. Her vision blurred. Images filled her mind-earth in flames. Human children buried under alien rubble. Soldiers laughing as they fired on cities. And then, silence, she gasped, falling to her knees. It was encoded rage. It burned inside her. She now understood Firewalker didn't want revenge. He wanted remembrance. That night, Varric sent an encrypted message to a ghost frequency, the kind only old Terran AI used. She wasn't sure it would reach him, even sure he would listen. Her message was short. "I know what they did. I know what we became. I don't want to stop you. I want to meet you." 2 systems away, Firewalker read the message. He didn't reply. But for the first time in years, he hesitated. One of his team said, "Is it a trap?" "Maybe," he said softly. "But if it's not, she may be the first who's ready to listen." Meanwhile, the Alliance grew desperate. Project Null had failed. Project Phoenix was unstable, and rumors were spreading that Firewalker had allies, just humans. "We follow the one who walks with flame." Even pirates and smugglers stopped attacking civilian ships. No one wanted to risk drawing Firewalker's attention. Fear changed the galaxy faster than war. The Alliance needed to act. Admiral Kezra gave the order. "Wake Project Helix." The Council gasped. "That was shut down for good reason," one said. "It turned soldiers into monsters." Kezra's voice was cold. "So does war." Project Helix was opened. In a lab buried deep beneath a cold moon, twisted warriors were pulled from stasis beings enhanced with alien DNA, human rage, especially humans. Their minds were blank, but when shown a picture of Firewalker, they growled in sync, back on the hidden human station. Firewalker felt something shift. He looked out at the stars. "They're waking the last monsters," he said. "I have to move fast." "Where to now?" his second in-command asked. He held up the cube. It showed a star system Neanthri, the 3rd name on his list. He whispered, "That's where they started the Terran bombing fleet. It's time they remembered what they built." Before leaving, he sent one message encrypted simple and directed, "Only to Varric. I'm not afraid of fire anymore." And, for the first time, a non-human crossed the stars willingly, not to fight Firewalker, but to face the truth. The galaxy had never seen such silence. Across dozens of star systems, enemy warships stood still. Their engines were cold. Their weapons, once glowing with deadly light, now pointed at nothing. The war had gone quiet, but not because it was over. They were waiting for the human dot, the one they called Ashbringer. No one knew his real name. No one knew where he came from. All they knew was this: wherever he appeared, flames followed. Starfleets disappeared. Planets burned. And no alien who stood against him lived to tell the full tale. But this time, it was different. He had sent a message, not a threat, not a warning, just one word: come. The Galactic Union thought it was a trap. They debated, argued, and finally agreed to send one last force, their greatest one yet. Hundreds of fleets, thousands of warships, the largest armada in known history. And leading them was Grand Marshal Thextar Von, a proud general of the Athari species. "We cannot fear a myth," he growled to his commanders as they moved through deep space. "He is one human. We are the galaxy." The command center was quiet. No one dared argue with Thextar, not after seeing what the Ashbringer did to the Zaran Empire. That entire civilization had vanished in just 3 days. As they approached the system, marked in the message, the stars themselves seemed darker. Shadows moved where no ships should be. Static buzzed across every comm channel, and then he appeared. A single ship exited warp in front of them. It wasn't large. It wasn't glowing with power. It looked broken, scarred, like it had fought 100 wars and barely survived each one. Thextar narrowed his eyes. "That's him," one of the officers whispered. "That's his ship, sir, the Revenant." Thextar growled. "Fire." Thousands of beams lit up space, rushing toward the tiny human ship. But before they reached, the ship vanished. No impact. "No signal," an officer cried. "He's gone." "No," Thextar said slowly. "He's here." The stars exploded behind them. Massive energy readings slammed into the fleets from all sides. Invisible weapons struck with terrifying precision. Entire cruisers were cut in half without warning. Some ships simply vanished, no explosion, no trace, just silence. "Who is firing?" Vexstar shouted. "We don't know. There's nothing on the scanners." Inside the Revenant, the human stood still. His face showed no emotion. His hands moved over controls like a ghost. Around him, his ship responded like a living thing. "Begin Phase 2, he said quietly. Across the battlefield, hundreds of hidden drones activated. They had been planted months ago, buried in asteroids, hidden in dead satellites, and even inside enemy ships themselves. The Galaxy had never seen human stealth technology like this, because it didn't exist in any database. It had never been used before. This was the Ashbringer's own design. One by one, the Galactic Union fleets fell. Ships turned on each other, confused by hacked signals. Targeting systems failed, shields died. In the chaos, his ship moved like a ghost, launching bursts of energy that tore through the most powerful vessels with surgical strikes. On the command ship, Vexstar was screaming, "Send the dreadnoughts." All of them, from deep within their formation, 10 enormous ships powered up. They were the pride of the Galactic Union, each one the size of a moon, carrying enough firepower to destroy entire planets, and still the human didn't speak. He moved calmly, like he had already seen the battle before it happened. Inside the dreadnoughts, crews locked weapons on the Revenant. Thousands of missiles launched, gravity cannons roared, but none of them hit. The missiles twisted mid-flight and turned around, slamming into the ships that fired them. The gravity cannons ripped open their own hulls. "They're hacked," someone screamed. The human's voice echoed through every ship. "I warned you." The voice was not loud. It was not angry. It was cold. "You thought this was war, but this is punishment." Suddenly, from the planet below, massive towers emerged, ancient structures, long buried, human technology, dark matter reactors. They had been hidden for years. One by one, they lit up. A wave of pure gravitational force exploded outward, cutting through space like a razor. Entire fleets were crushed into dust. Shields collapsed. Engines froze. Vec stood in silence, watching his empire burn. He whispered, "How did he do this?" A small hologram appeared before him. It was the human, not a monster, not a god, just a man. Eyes calm, voice flat. "You came to kill me," the human said, "but I already killed you. Before you ever arrived." The hologram vanished. Vexstar knew then. It wasn't just war, it was strategy. The Ashbringer hadn't just won the battle, he had designed it. He had led them here, step by step. He had used their own pride, their belief in numbers, their blind trust in power. He had turned their strength into a trap. And now, the Galaxy was watching one man rewrite the rules of war. As the last Union fleet fell, across distant planets and systems, broadcasts began to change. People whispered his name. Worlds that once feared Earth now begged for peace. Armies disbanded, leaders resigned. Fear spread faster than light, and somewhere, deep in space, the human stood alone in his ship. He looked out at the stars. He wasn't smiling. He didn't celebrate. He just said one word to no one in particular. "Next."